Good morning, councillors, and welcome to the Planning and Development Committee meeting for the month of September. Due to the fact that Councillor Edwina is an apology this morning, was listed as the chair. It's my role now to just call for nominations for chair of this committee meeting. Councillor Trevor.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Tim McMahon to fill in for Councillor Edwina.
Accept that nomination. Someone second that nomination. Seconded by Councillor Rebecca. Those in favour? Motion's carried. I'll hand over to you, Councillor Tim.
Good morning, colleagues. Welcome to today's committee meetings, Planning and Development for the month of September. Welcome to a bit of floral around the table and weather heating up. Much needed change. Thank you, Councillor Trevor, for the nomination. Can I take a moment, councillors, to acknowledge, being the first one of the morning, the traditional owners of the land that we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, Guyabal, Jarrawa people and the Bigginbul people to the region's southwest. All of their songlines traverse the land we meet on today, and we pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Colleagues, we do have a few leave of absence. We have a leave of absence that is noted from Councillor Gary Gardner, and no resolution is required for that. I will need an apology for Councillor Edwina Farquhar, who notified us that she will be running late due to a commitment. Motion that the apology for non-attendance from Councillor Edwina Farquhar be accepted. I did see a mover from Councillor O'Shea and a seconder from Deputy Mayor Rebecca Von Hoff. All those in favour of that motion, it's passed without dissent. Thank you, colleagues. We move to declarable conflicts of interest. I have not received any prior knowledge of prescribed or declarable conflicts of interest for the one item in the planning committee meetings today. Are there any, colleagues, or they can certainly be raised at the time? With that, and I should ask, please make sure you've hit the little green button that says you are here and you are voting in board books. As we move to item 3, the Heritage Incentive Grant Policy. Good morning, Ed, General Manager, CEO, Council Business Team, those in the gallery and media. I'll hand over to you for item 3. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, this is an update to the existing policy. The key points to note here for consideration, and there's a track changes version of the existing policy within attachment 2. However, to summarise, the funding has been increased up to $20,000 per project on a dollar for dollar basis, and eligible locations have also been updated to include the Main Street precincts of our regional towns and villages. The intent of those updates are to improve the owner uptake of the Heritage Incentive Scheme by increasing the eligible component of the grant funding to $20,000. It's $10,000 under the existing policy, making the eligibility criteria a little bit clearer and easier to understand and align with the ICOMOS Charter, which is the Heritage rulebook, for lack of a better term. I apologise for that, councillors, as well as including within the motion before you there a delegation to the CEO to allow for the as usual delivery of grant funding through the Smarty Grants portal to take place for eligible projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Colleagues, are there any questions regarding the Heritage Incentive Grant Policy? Councillor Trevor and then Councillor Bill.
Through you, Chair, to GM Ed. Is it 20,000 or is it part thereof? Like if there was a smaller application, it would be part thereof?
Up to $20,000, yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Trevor. I think it's dollar for dollar, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Councillor Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. In the track changes attachment, page 2 of 8 on board books, under scope and applications, the addition there, this policy applies to all incentives offered to eligible state and locally listed heritage listed properties. My query is, through you, Chair, to Ed, I'm not sure I'm not sure whether state heritage listed properties were eligible in the past for this funding bucket, and my question is, if they are, is there potential for those property owners to double dip on state incentive, or is there an overlap, is my question, I guess.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair, the policy as it stands today relates to conservation works to heritage listed properties. It's not specific whether it's state or locally listed within that. I think you could argue that that includes state heritage listed properties within the existing policy regime. I think in terms of a double dipping component, the exposure to council within the proposed changes is a maximum of $20,000 per project on a dollar for dollar basis. I would suspect, given the nature of heritage buildings and the work that goes into the maintenance and upkeep, and certainly the work that would be required to comply with the intent of this policy and be eligible for the grant funding criteria, would likely exceed $20,000 from a council contribution in any event. So I don't think there would be, I suspect there would not be a risk of a proponent or a landowner certainly making money through grant funding, particularly noting that council's component of this is a dollar for dollar basis. So it is a matched funding proposal.
Yeah, I guess without turning my mind to specific buildings, the basis of my thinking was that if, in fact, the state owns listed properties within this defined area or defined areas, then it ought to be possibly the state's responsibility to, I guess I'm asking, because of the limited funds we have, should state-owned buildings, and I'm not sure if there are any, but that was my basis for questioning. Given the limited funds that we have to inject into our residents to assist in that manner, or our businesses. I guess take it on notice, Ed, if you want to, mate, and between now and next week, if that's suitable, Chair, or I send an email to councillors if that's suitable. That was. I just thought because of the limited funding we have, I'd like to try and spread it as well as we could, or make it as accessible as we could to locally listed heritage properties. Notwithstanding, they might be listed in both, but particularly if they're owned by state.
Yeah, certainly. And through the chair, I will note that the annual budget allocated each financial year since 2014 has been $60,000 per financial year, and the total paid out has been well below the total budgeted amount. Over those years, we've paid out $184,689 through this program, which perhaps to allay some of those concerns of yours, we're not oversubscribed through this program, but appreciate what you're saying and happy to take that on notice.
Look, regardless of us being oversubscribed or undersubscribed, the reason why we're redoing the policy is for that very reason, I would gather. So that's the basis of my question, making sure we've got some equitable access for locals. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Bill. Thanks, General Manager Ed. Councillor Shine.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, General Manager. Just looking at the amount per year, 60,000, as you pointed out, hasn't been changed since it was introduced about 11 years ago. But what we are changing is the eligibility from 10,000 to 20,000. In today's world, the cost of building and renovation, etc., has skyrocketed. It wouldn't be hard to imagine that we would have three takers per year taking the 20,000. Has there been any consideration given to increasing the pot from 60 to account for the the erosion of the value of dollar over the last 11 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Through the chair, there certainly has been some consideration, but I guess for the officers, it comes back to the point that the maintenance and upkeep of properties is the responsibility of the landowner. The intent of this policy is to assist in a way that makes that that eases that burden somewhat, and that was found to be best met by increasing the allocation on the dollar for dollar basis, noting that it is over those years has been undersubscribed in real terms. So the effort was taken to rather increase the budget total allocation to make those projects that are eligible able to receive more within the existing. I think time will tell as we move through and as we balance other financial priorities across the organisation as well.
So I take it from that, what you're saying is if it becomes oversubscribed, then that will be a matter for council to reconsider the amount in the pot. Thank you.
Colleagues, are there any further questions on item 3, the Heritage Incentive Grant Policy Review? Can I suggest that this has been several years coming to us now, and I'm very glad to see it here. The main points are we've increased the funding from 10,000 to 20,000. We've also increased the extended eligibility to some of the main street precincts across the broader Toowoomba region in the towns and villages, and I think that's exciting. Colleagues, the second part of the motion is that we are delegating this to the CEO rather than coming back to council for a decision. And Ed, could those, when they are reviewed and accepted, go into places like the group reports for councillors' interest? And colleagues, I think the only other thing to the community is to say this is a great policy to make our heritage buildings continue to look amazing. Please make sure you take advantage of it and use it. The motion is in 2 parts, colleagues. Adopt the revised policy and delegate authority to the CEO to approve applications that meet the criteria under 2.41. Do I have a mover for item 3? Moved by Councillor Trevor, seconded by Councillor Carroll. Any reason to go into debate? All those in favour? Motion is passed without dissent. Thank you, colleagues, and with that I will conclude today's Planning and Development Committee meeting at 9:12 a.m. Thank you for your attendance.
Good morning, colleagues. Welcome to the Water and Waste Committee meeting for the Toowoomba Regional Council for today, the 9th of September 2025. This meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. I would like to thank those of you who are in the room this morning and acknowledge everyone who is watching on Council's social media channels. I will remind councillors to join the meeting and press the appropriate buttons to vote. And I would like to open the meeting by putting a motion for an apology for Councillor Edwina Farquhar. The motion is the apology for non-attendance for Councillor Edwina Farquhar be accepted. Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor McMahon. All those in favour? Thank you. Noting a leave of absence for Councillor Gary Gardner, no resolution is required. I will just join the meeting myself. And I will note that there are no items for the Water and Waste Committee meeting this morning, so I will bring the meeting to a close. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. We're about to start the meeting for the Infrastructure Committee meeting of Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and it is also being live streamed, so people watching live stream, welcome. I'd like to thank everyone who is in the room today, including our guests at the back there, and thank you for being present today. In opening the meeting, we do have a councillor who is away for a short term on another appointment, so we'll require a motion for Councillor Farquhar Councillor Vonoff and Councillor Melissa Taylor seconded. All those in favour? And we also will note the absence of Councillor Gary Gardner, so no resolution is required there. There is no business coming out of the Infrastructure Committee today, so I will now close the meeting and thank you for your attendance on this very short, swift meeting. Good morning. Welcome to the Environment and Community Committee meeting of Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and is also being live streamed. So welcome to all those people watching live stream. I'd also like to thank everyone who is in the room today, GM Nick, CEO Sal, and all those down the back there watching as well. In opening this meeting, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners, as in whose songlines transverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, the Guybil and the Jarawar peoples, and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, the rich traditions and the bold ambitions of Australia's First Peoples. We do need a resolution or a motion for Councillor Farquhar, who is on another appointment at this stage. So can somebody move that? Yes, Councillor Carol Taylor, a seconder, Councillor James O'Shea. All those in favour? Thanking you. Also to be noted that there is a leave of absence, which no resolution is required for Councillor Gary Gardner. I have been advised that there are no declarations of prescribed conflict of interest and no declarations of a declarable conflict of interest. But if something does arise during the meeting, please let me know. I will hand over to GM Nick Hauser for the proposed change to the Park Master Plan endorsement process. Over to you, Nick.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. Councillors, the endorsement of park master plans has previously been at council level as custom and practice. There's not necessarily a legislative or policy requirement for us to do so, but rather adopted as custom and practice. The recommendation today to delegate authority to the CEO to endorse park master plans on behalf of council in no way suggests, implies, nor will cause any change to the comprehensive stakeholder consultation process that we currently undertake in developing park master plans. Delegating authority to the CEO will streamline the approval process and presents a business efficiency improvement for council. If through the development of the master plans and consideration of endorsement or approval, we'll undertake risk assessment and present that to the CEO for consideration. And if through that process complexities or sensitivities are identified, the CEO may prefer that the master plan is presented to council rather than exercise the delegation, and that'll be at the CEO's discretion based on those risk assessments that are presented. Council's opportunity exists for us, and we currently use this and will continue to enhance and use the process to keep you informed of parks that are currently being master planned through our group report, through direct email to you as we do, and as we come across any areas of sensitivity or complexity or particular public interest. We probably also take the opportunity to use councillor information session process to keep you informed of those items as they arise as well. So with that, councillors, I commend the report, the recommendation to you, and am available to answer your questions.
Thanks, GM Nick. Are there any questions from the floor? Councillor Shine and then Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. Just refer to attachment 4, which is the aerial mapping, just to... we haven't reached that. No. Right, sorry. Oh, right, okay.
Are you right, Kerry?
Sorry, withdraw that, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Carol Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wish to vote against this. I haven't got any questions. I met with the General Manager yesterday and my concerns have not been allayed. This is not operational. I can't think of anything more strategic than a master plan, and it goes across our whole community. And I will speak against it, but I will say that as a councillor who has just one meeting per whatever with infrastructure, and I'm not aware of anything else that goes on in this council unless I see it in a group report. So at the end of the day, I'll reserve my comment for debate, but I will have a say in it. I've been around when we were developing master plans for this city, for many things that we've actually done, and we've had drop-in centres, we've gone to people and had, you know, debate around school, brought school leaders and other things in. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but the easy part with these things is to go online and we get the noisy voices, and I will say, which I will say when I'm speaking, they're not our parks. They're not the staff's parks. Some people have been waiting for a long time for these parks. Their former councils were going to develop them for them, and I think that in this, by taking away the elected members' thoughts and processes through this, I think we're taking it away from the people. So I will speak against this. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Carroll. Councillor Tim.
Chair, thank you. I'd like to move this motion, noting that there may be some debate, and I'm happy to have that in a respectable manner. Thank you.
Okay, so we have Councillor Tim who's moved the motion. We've got Councillor O'Shea who is seconding that motion. So now I will open it up for debate. So who wants to go? Okay, back to you, Tim.
No, thank you, Chair and colleagues. Could I commend this motion to the floor and the officers, the work that the officers have done. What we're arguing, or what we're talking about here, is that Council delegated the authority to the CEO to endorse park master plans on behalf of Council. So what has happened in this chamber is we've had them come to us for the final endorsement of a master plan. In my 5 years, there's only been 5. I remember them all well. Every single one of those park master plans was done with community consultation. You go to the community, you ask them what they want, they express their wishes and they give it back, and the council officers design a park master plan to meet the community's wishes, and that gets sent to council for endorsement. My first issue with doing that is when the logistics happen, it almost never looks exactly like the master plan that we endorse. Things happen, you know, the team run into issues or whatever, and then because we've signed off on an exact master plan, it actually creates more work to come back to us to say this is what you signed off on. But in those 5 master plans that have come before council, I don't think I've ever had anyone vote against them. They're all very great, and we all like to go around the table and say how good this is and pick out features of a different park that we think are really good for everyone in Toowoomba region. And I'm glad to see that that process will continue. But when it's done with consultation, the community's wishes are being taken into account, I would much prefer to do it, as the General Manager has said, when there is something contentious. This could come to council for a council info session or a workshop where councillors could have their views on current master plans that are to be approved, and then that came back to council in the group reports to say, look at this tremendous piece of infrastructure that we've built for the community. So this is not building any less infrastructure, it's just that council laws don't need to have the final say off. It can be done by the CEO or his representative. So colleagues, that's the motion we're voting on today, and I welcome debate and contrary viewpoints on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Tim. Anybody against? Councillor Carol Taylor.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I didn't just drop into this chair yesterday or in 2020. I've been here since 2008, and I'm very aware of what master plans are, and I'm very aware that that is exactly what they are. They're master plans, and they do change. But in developing those master plans with appropriate community consultation, and this, look, please, this is absolutely nothing to do with the CEO, the General Manager or our Parks and Gardens team. Absolutely nothing to do with it. I just see this as another step to remove people from having their say on what happens here, because we take the easy way out and go to online in a busy world where it's very increasingly noisy and hard to connect with communities. Council needs to put a bit of effort into going and doing that. When we had the city centre master plan, we went to every single community and we had big drop-in centres, we had afternoon teas, we had everything else. It was an amazing process. Master plan has changed, of course it's changed. The library's not where it was, all of those different things have happened, but at least we can refer back to that and say that so many of our community had some say into how their aspirations and thoughts were on how our city centre should develop. I was informed this was operational. As I've said before, it is not operational. I can't think of anything that is more strategic than developing a master plan. We have many areas in our region, as I mentioned before, who've been waiting for their parks to be either upgraded or created. And those areas, some are noisy and will always have their say, some are very difficult to connect with. It's not staff's fault, it's just that it's difficult. And we're running out of people around this table who have actually lived in smaller communities and understand where those things are and who needs to go in there. They should be consulted where they are. They should be made easy, not just online. I note the methods that have been mentioned, and I congratulate the staff on mentioning all those. That doesn't mean they're all going to be used, because I'm aware of times when they haven't been. It's very easy to go online and just, you know, have your say. And in that, I'm very aware also, good people are on there. People are entitled to their opinions, but what we normally get there are loud people who are very strongly either for or against something, or people who are actually got the time to sit there and watch what's happening online or what's been asked of them. Councillors are elected. Every one of us around this table has been elected by our community, not just in this city, but the whole of the community, to be the voice of our residents. And hopefully some have knowledge of the areas which will be concerned in different park master plans. And some may have knowledge or may go out and find some knowledge. Master plans have not in the past come to council just for endorsement. They have come as a information session on telling us what's been proposed and all those things. I suggest that this is going to be thrown out of the window as well. And as I mentioned, as a councillor who only has construction and maintenance, that means that I don't know about anything unless I see it in a group report. I don't think, Our community expects that to happen. I think our community expects councillors to be involved in the development of these things, and I think our community expects councillors to actually be their voice, aspirationally as well as when they have complaints. So I just can't see why. I don't know why we're elected if we're going to delegate absolutely everything. I know we are far too operational. I've been saying that for 10 years. But at the end of the day, this is not operational. This is strategic. And this is exactly where councillors and community should be together and should be consulted. And I must say to you, you all know that people love their parks, whether it's just a drop-in centre out at Millmerran or whether it's a beautiful Queen's Park or Peacehaven. People love them just as much, and they should be pertinent and they should reflect the community in which they're situated, and that is at the ground floor, and that should be when we're developing master plans. And I cannot support this being delegated. I'm very sorry. It's nothing against any staff. I'm here for my community. It's the only reason I'm sitting in this chair. And I think that their thoughts, aspirations and contributions should be made a lot of. It's not that, it's this, I know for sure that our staff do not say they're not going to consult, but when it becomes hard, then what is done? When people are busy and no one connects, do we go out there? We have in the past, and that may be councillors' jobs. So at the end of the day, you know, we're probably going to, by doing this, we're probably going to alienate those who don't even realise what's being proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. So I've got Councillor James speaking in favour of the motion. Is that correct?
Yes, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Councillor Taylor. I certainly respect the points of view that you've put forward, and to be honest, I agree with, I think probably everyone around the table probably agrees with everything you've said in large, and I actually think that's what this report actually does. The comment was sort of made earlier around, I think Councillor Taylor said they're not officers' parks, they're the communities. Absolutely. 100 million, bazillion, as many zeros you can get on the end %. And what this process does is puts all of the power to the community. So if you go through the report, it's got the different rounds of stakeholder engagement. There's 2 rounds. It all goes to community, additional consultation that's needed depending on the complexity of the site, et cetera, et cetera. This is a process that goes through here. So what we're talking about here, in my opinion, is obviously that it is these master plans are developed all, and I repeat, all through community consultation. So the feedback that is received through community, there's an extensive process that's listed through this report, and that's what it's about. It's about providing a community with their say and what they want to see in their parks through this particular process. Councillors' role in setting the strategic scene for this lies above the park master plan process. That's our open space strategy, that's through planning scheme, that's through you name it, that's the level where then this follows through. So what this process allows is honestly, I think it's actually the perfect scenario. One, it outlines everything that we've spoken about before around stakeholder engagement. But secondly, and the crucial thing I want to add here around if we're tricky around the word delegation, and Councillor Carroll, you mentioned it's nothing that's here against any of the staff or any of their abilities to do so. Well, the process lists through here, these are the following possible triggers that may influence when the decision maker chooses not to exercise their delegated authority and instead presents the master plan to council for endorsement. And they are extensive: governance, legal and regulatory compliance, environment, reputation, people, resources and service delivery, asset management, financial management. So all of these things are listed out here. So all of a sudden, if the consultation comes back and it is controversial or lists any of those, it's an immediate trigger for the officers to be able to present it to council. So it's actually the perfect scenario. However, if we go to the process of this master planning process with the extensive consultation, whichever process that is undertaken, and because we now have a CEO in place that's made a very strong case around how we relate to our community in regards to customer service and in how we, with our stakeholder, I think this process will be extensive. So if we have a trust in the process that our CEO, through his delegation, is going to follow what the community has requested, follow the guidelines that are listed by this master plan, the quicker process would be that it goes through and the community gets their asset delivered faster. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to deliver a better outcome for community. But then, on the other hand, as you said, the triggers are listed there. So if it is, in fact, something that thinks, hang on, this needs a more strategic outcome or direction through council, there's that trigger there for the CEO to send it to council. So I think it does certainly deliver on those elements, and I think it's extremely important that council is involved in this. And there is the process where we will be informed with the parks that are coming online through group reports, or if staff choose through other mechanisms. So whilst I'm strongly in favour of the recommendation, I agree with everything and all of the valid points that Councillor Carroll has raised. But I think this report does, for my opinion, it addresses all of those through this. So that's why I'm completely comfortable with this recommendation and having the confidence in our CEO through his delegation to deliver the outcome that is best for our community. So thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor James. Is anybody from the floor against the motion? Anyone else? Councillor Carey?
Thanks, Chair. I'm sort of wavering, to be honest, impressed by Councillor Carroll's submission and that of Councillor O'Shea as well. What would help me, I think, determine if it's possible for the CEO to give us his view as to whether or not, in his view, it is strategic, operational, or a bit of both, and if so, why, if that's possible.
Okay, I'll hand over to CEO Sal. Just for his opinion, quickly.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Chair. Look, listening to all your comments, I think all your comments are valid in regards to your concerns, but can I probably state I am a strategic land use planner by profession, and I actually understand the processes very well. And I probably understand the political sensitivities in the way decisions are made. I think what's been put forward to you is an efficiency process in terms of endorsing a process at the end of all of the consultation that goes ahead. I probably wouldn't be in this position, Councillor Carey, if I'd made silly decisions along the way. So I do understand the sensitivity. What I'm probably also hearing is the way we actually communicate other activities that occur across the portfolios to the respective councillors that sit before me. And that's probably something that I need to give consideration to. Master planning can occur at all levels. It can occur at a local park level and it can occur at a regional, more broader level. And if we're at that upper level, Councillor, I think it'd be quite evident that those decisions would be occurring around this table. But if we're talking about some of the smaller scheme type parks, I think I have confidence and trust in my officers that the processes that we're stipulating will be followed. And I think I could trust my judgment that if there were elements of sensitivity, they would be brought back to this chamber. So I hope that answers your concerns.
Thanks, CEO Sal. For clarification for Councillor Shine. Councillor Bill, for the motion. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Pardon me. I speak for the motion. Simply put, in the body of the report, the proposed process, and Councillor James has alluded to it, but if you look at those headings there, on those risk indicators, that more than adequately covers quadruple bottom line around sustainability. But importantly, they're derived, if you read the words there, I'm quite confident that and comfortable with that level of risk because they're as a result of community consultation. If you read those phrases there. And I think we need to, as Councillor James, and further to what he said, need clarity of thinking about further up the food chain, what influences these physical outcomes. And it's to do with land use planning. It's to do with what we want our community to look like. And that's a very strategic overview which informs the moving parts of the business. And finally, look, quite simply, if it doesn't work, we ask for a report to council to change the delegations register, the CEO's delegations register. If we find it doesn't work, it's as simple as that. And I might add, a previous council used to have this as delegated to the CEO, this very item of business. And it was a councillor that was elected that called it in and got the majority of votes around the table to have it otherwise. But it used to be always CEO delegation. Simple change. Revisit the delegations register. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Bill. So we do have a motion on the books that was moved by Councillor Tim and seconded by Councillor James, and I will ask Councillor Tim to sum up.
Chair, thank you. And can I take a moment to acknowledge 4 of my colleagues who have spoken either in favour of or against the motion. No, I'm sorry, Councillor Carroll. I'm just summing up. I'm just about to speak. I was actually going to. I'm sorry, Chair.
Speak against the motion.
I don't think we need to
asked a
let this
question.
happen.
Okay, I'll hand back to Councillor Tim. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I don't mean to be interrupted. I was just summing up. Colleagues, this is a change to Park Master Plan process, that we delegate the authority to the CEO to endorse the Park Master Plan or their representative. Colleagues, I just would like to pick up on the point that was raised. It doesn't mean less parks. It doesn't mean we don't enjoy our parks. It doesn't mean we don't want to have the community continue to enjoy the parks. It was raised. It means on the rare occasion that we have a new Park Master Plan, and it is a rather rare occasion, that we endorse that, allow the CEO to have that authority to endorse that, unless one of the risk indicators in the report on page 3 are triggered, then it comes to us. Colleagues, I just also want to pick up on, I'm not in personally the water and waste portfolio nor the infrastructure committee portfolio, but I know everything that happens in those because they all come to council for strategic big decisions through the information session or the workshop process, and that doesn't happen. That still will happen when we have one of these come forward. There will also be the group reports that will say this is all the work that we're doing. I still would like to know what's happening, and I still will, but there was a point as well that sometimes in this room the noisy online tends to sway our decision, and if our officers think that they can, with their skill set and with their staff, they can point it out properly, then they're quite capable of doing that without certainly listening to those voices online. Colleagues, I just want to say that, Councillor Carroll, I absolutely respect your point of view of the longevity around this table and the idea that throughout the years we used to sign off on things and now we're delegating, and it's happening more and more. It happened this morning in the one I was chairing, and I think I'd like us to move to a strategic board decision where we endorse the policy and then the individual elements of that policy can be done. So, colleagues, this is about efficiency, not less parks or less community enjoyment. So with that, colleagues, thank you for allowing me, Chair. I'll commend the motion.
Thanks, Councillor McMahon. We do have a motion on the books that the recommendation is that the Council delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to endorse park master plans on behalf of Council as per Attachment 1. We do have a mover with Councillor McMahon and a seconder with Councillor O'Shea. I'll put the motion to the floor. All those in favour of that recommendation? Against? And I'll record your vote, Councillor. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on with the agenda. The next item on agenda is closing the meeting to the public for a confidential matter. So can I have a mover for the motion? And the motion being that the meeting be closed to the public in accordance with section 254J3 of Local Government Regulation 2012 to consider the following item on the agenda. Item number 5, confidential strategic land exchange. So the reason for closing the meeting, the report discusses matters relating to business for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government or someone else, and therefore it is recommended that the meeting be closed to the public in accordance with section 254J3G negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government of the Local Government Regulation 2012. Somebody move that motion, please. Councillor O'Shea, and seconded by Councillor McDonald. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everyone. We have come out of confidential, and the motion that is before us at the moment, we'll bring it up on the screen, is that Council resolves that an exception under Section 236 ICV of Local Government Regulations 2012 applies as in relation to the disposal of land as identified in Attachment 2 of the confidential report titled Strategic Land Exchange, other than by tender or auction. 2, the Chief Executive Officer or his delegate be authorised to negotiate the acquisition and disposal of the property as detailed in the confidential report titled Strategic Land Exchange. 3, the Chief Executive Officer or his delegate be authorised to execute the necessary documentation to enable the transfer of each property as detailed in the confidential report titled Strategic Land Exchange. And 4, all legal and administrative matters relating to the transfer be at the cost of the applicant/owner. Can I have somebody to move that, please? Councillor Carroll, seconded by Councillor Bill. All those in favour of that? Okay, take that as a unanimous vote. Thank you for your participation in that. Thank you to the public who are watching.
You may just have to record Councillor Edwina, as we
As-
did have her as an
apology,
vote
and
as well.
she has come back to the meeting, so thank you, Mayor. And I'll close the meeting at, what is the time? 10 o'clock. Thank you very much for your attendance.
I will please remind you to join the meeting. I would like to open the meeting and welcome everyone in the room, and also advise that the meeting is being live streamed. We have Councillor Farquhar in the room. Morning. I will note that there is a leave of absence for Councillor Gardner, so no resolution is required. Happy Carnival, everyone, and with there's no items for today's meeting for the Corporate Services group meeting, I will declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to the Economic Development Committee meeting of the Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed. I'd like to thank those of you online and in the room today. Councillors, if you can click join the meeting, please. And then noting a leave of absence for Councillor Gardner, no resolution is required. I'm sorry, I'd like to officially open the meeting, acknowledge our traditional owners, and as we have nothing on the agenda, I would also like to conclude the meeting. Thank you very much.